Otsukimi here. This is Observations with Otsu. I'm glad to have you today. As I have mentioned before, I'm doing a new format, so after everything's edited, it should be about 12 minutes long. We'll see if we can kind of go with that. Some preliminary things. If you haven't seen anything, I have been very active as far as doing extra stuff, both free and non-free content. I have my free Telegram channel. It's called the Otsu House. It's on my pinned tweet on Twitter. I also have my YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. I also have my Nowhere Discord channel. It's called Nowhere HQ. It is free to join. I have lots of free content in there. We talk about charts. We do mini market updates every 2 days, pretty much. We do about 3 to 4 times per week. We have a very extensive Nowhere market update, which is about 15 minutes long. Those are on Wednesdays. That's going to be tomorrow. And then I also do portfolio trades, charts, requests, lots of other things. I have a chart request coming up, in fact, after this video. In addition to that, I also have Nowhere Premium, which is a paid service. It's about $25. It has not launched yet, but I will launch that soon. Join the wait list in the description if you haven't yet and you want to sign up. All right, so first things first, go to Bitcoin, go on the weekly, as is the case for most of the time. Another bigger downtrend candle versus, a lot of other weeks. It's been one of the bigger down candles probably in the past 2 months, really. We had a couple here, and this was pretty significant as far as the downward candles versus this current drawdown here. And so that's kind of what we see. We still have the RSI holding above the 50. That's usually what I look for, as you know. We have a small ARN consolidation period. It's higher up, so it's going to have a higher effect. The higher it is, the more effect that it will have. If you want to know more about that, sign up for my academy. I go very into detail about that. But the higher it is, the more effect that it has, but it's also slimmer, so it has less of effect. The wider it is, it's also more effective. So when you have a wider one, it tends to be more effective. So another thing we can see here is we have kind of a trend line, so to speak. This looks better on lower time frames, but we have this going on, and so this is a consideration. I can tell you with most of my experience that this will break down because the slope is too high. And so the slope, I'm not going to get into it, but it's calculated by taking the right angle of this. And when the slope is too high, I don't have a strict number, but when it is too high, it does tend to fail. And that's generally because the demand is not good enough for the supply, causes a mean reversion, and then it goes down. And so that's basically the long story short of that. I would love to do a video on that. That's kind of a high technical video that I don't know many people would understand, but it's, I'm a nerd, so. So anyway, that's what we got going on right here. It should bounce, and we'll see how that goes. But so far, not quite sure. We'll go ahead and go to the daily. This is what that looks like. And so overall, this is considered more of a deviation on that time frame, and it's pretty much only just that time frame. So you could kind of adjust it like so, and I think that would make more sense for most time frames. And it also reduces the slope, so that also is more palatable for your analysis. So 3-day, pretty much the same. Nothing really going on here. It is bouncing on the 50, or at least attempting to approach the 50. We'll see how that goes. It needs to bounce higher, but it doesn't need to do it right away. It just needs to stay above the mathematical line. We got the ARN bearish wedge, so that means price should accelerate to the downside, and so maybe we can get this trend line going on. That's what I'm looking for within the next 2 to 5 candles. So roughly for the next 1 to 2, 3 weeks, I want this to touch here, and it probably should. That's not a prediction. Like, that's like saying, I hope the next time I drive, I hope I don't get into an accident. Like, probability speaking, like, that should be the case. Or like, I hope I don't crash an airplane. Like, probability wise, that should be true. So same going on with this. But overall, the key observation with this is just that we got these cycles right here, right? And we're ready for that second, or that third one, really. But the fourth touch on this, usually the fourth touches don't really work out so well. But that's the observation here, is that we have a confluence point that's ready to make a macro direction, and so far that is bearish. And so not really much else to say with that. One consideration would be, I've mentioned here, is this this mid on the Fibonacci block. I'm looking for that 27,800 buy-in. That's kind of what I'm personally looking for. And if it breaks down, I'm not going to buy it, and I'll probably look at 25. So that's basically it from there. If you want a long opportunity, that's probably your best bet as well, somewhere in the 27,800 range. I'd probably put something probably lower than here. So roughly like so, maybe like a 4 or 5% stop. And then if you're bullish, I'm sure you're going to target something higher. So something like this looks good to me. Shorts, on the other hand, are a little bit more complex, because I don't want to short right now, because the time to short was up here. The problem was that was like July, the 13th. So it's like, are you really going to be in a short for 2 weeks? That's very minimal on its reward. And that's something I discussed. Like your best short option was this deviation back into the range, and that would have been like a 4 or 5%, and that doesn't really work out. Like, it's better to short on lower time frames anyway. And the uptrend is still doing pretty good. You can't really short here, because this is where I would personally long my personally. So what you could do is wait for a break down here, target a range like so, and maybe do something to this effect. And I mean, even if you target down here into the 23s, you're still not even at a 2R. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like short opportunities don't really work well on high time frames, and we could kind of look at something on a lower time frame, but this is too choppy to really bring something to the table. So so that's basically Bitcoin in a nutshell. Is my key observations. I'm waiting for this trend line. We also have a wedge in play. I did talk about this. I think it's best seen on the daily, or I'll just do 12 hour, because it's here as well. So it was like so. We're kind of holding right above it, and this is the wedge. So I mentioned this on Twitter, X, whatever it is now. And so this is kind of what I'm looking at for a bounce. I would like to see a reaction to this in order to see a reaction to the trend line. So that's kind of what I'm looking at currently in regard to the Bitcoin price action. All right, going to Ethereum weekly here. Another bearish week. Nothing really to explain too much. Same as what we've had before. We're still above the 50 RSI. We just crossed bullish, but excuse me. We crossed bullish a couple weeks ago, actually confirming last week, despite the bearish candle. So that means we went into a consolidation period, which means that not only is the bearish subtrend here, but the subtrend is going to be stronger than the bull trend. So we're going to head downward first. Excuse me, I don't know what's happening. But now, kind of within this range, and this is something I pointed out weeks ago. Yeah, we had the big upswing, we had the deviation, and I'm just waiting for this break. I know it sounds really dumb and boring and dull, but this is what I'm waiting for. The slope on this is not that bad, so I'm actually thinking that this might head up higher. I'm still bullish on this overall. If we took all my color band strategy, we actually just flipped bullish on here. So I'm expecting the trend to kind of go up a little bit. So we'll see. This can play out as long as maybe like right here. So you got like an entire month, honestly. And so that's the thing. We could wait a whole another month before we get any kind of realistic price action. And this is my key observation for Ethereum, because this is a waiting game. And unfortunately, sometimes it's that simple, and we don't want it to be that simple, right? We want it to be a little more complex. We kind of like, I've talked about this before. We have this margin call mentality, this big short mentality, where we want things to be complicated. We want things to be like a movie, and it's not. Like there's a meme that talks about how exciting like programming is. You see it on TVs where they're typing really fast. They're typing against other programmers, and they got the music, they got the zooming in, and it's nothing like that. It's like, I've done plenty of code before. I've had a top 100 app on the App Store on iOS before. And it's very, very boring. You can spend a whole day programming and you actually go backwards from where you started from. It's very, very boring, very, very dull. I feel like a lot of traders that do programming and coding can probably understand me. But that's why I tell people to get out of their emotions, forego the dopamine drip. Don't focus on that, right? Focus on the numbers that you see in your bank account, not in your P&L charts, nothing like that. So it's a waiting game that I see for this, and that's pretty much all it is until we can figure out otherwise. We go into the daily, kind of just sums up what I just said and into an even more boring context. We just kind of got to wait this out. This structure is not, there's nothing really here. Like there's no block structure that I can look at. There's no frame of reference. There's no divergence. There's nothing here that really signifies a holistic way to view the supply and demand, except for this big wedge that I talked about. And that's pretty much all that there is. And so we're just kind of waiting for that. So it's as simple as this as far as longs. I mean, it honestly is just as simple as, there's two different longs actually, but it's just as simple as you could long this, you could long this trend line somewhere. Let's say it bounces up, you get kind of a confirmation. You could do something like so, target the highs or whatever you want to target. And so this is kind of an abstract way to long this area. Another way that I would do it is if you try to long a break of this, and so this gives you a clear invalidation area. So as long as it's below here, I think you could customize that as much as you want to, and I would probably target 23 or higher. I think range wise, I think, where is it at? I think this was it, like 29. So you could target as high as 29 honestly, but the low here would be about where's it at? About 23 or so. So you could target as low as this initially, and then even target up higher potentially, because if this breaks on the weekly perspective, it's probably going to hold honestly. And so I would expect a middle of this to be a target. I think 2900 would be good, and we might get that sooner than you think. And that's the thing, like I don't want you, yes, this price action is boring, it's dull, and it's something that you should go outside, right? Like, we set up the pool yesterday for my son. We did these things. Like, you should go do those things, right? You should go out and have fun or do something else. But set alerts, though, because you don't want to miss these type of runs. You don't want to look, because this can happen very quickly. This could go up to 2900, 3000 very quickly in the span of a month or two. And that's almost, that's probably 75% where we're at right now. And so you could easily lose the 75% in a 2-week period because you decided that this current price action is too boring to care about. Like, and that's the thing. It is boring. I understand that, but it should not be something that you stop caring about. You should bring that into the context of all the other elements at play. Set alerts, play off those alerts. So that's pretty much it with that. All right, XRP, pretty flat for the day so far. Going to the weekly, pretty decent downward move. We're kind of hovering on that range, which I'll get into in a second. But this is something that I talked about before with the news regarding to their court case and all that kind of stuff. We had a big pump up, and I've been saying this really ever since we had it, so almost 3 weeks, but not quite. We're probably going to fade this, and a good sign would be if we break this. This is a trade that I had looked at, but overall, like this was the range that I was looking at, and we've pretty much failed this range in pretty much every level and every context. And so we might have something significant here, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's holding so far. If this reclaims, it's worth considering to go back into the range, at least on the daily. But overall, these straightforward, like super straight, like green candles, I know it's blue, but these bullish candles, they fade almost always. And if it doesn't do it now, it's going to do it a year from now, and it's going to get worse. So, but however, that being said, we need to we need to break this range first. We are currently breaking it. We kind of held it yesterday, but we're breaking it currently, and we need to reclaim that today. Otherwise, this is a very easy long at 55 cents, and that's, I honestly hope that it does break. Like I've tried to long this, and I think I've closed my position, but this will be a key observation for me as well. Like this fade attempt is a very good likely play. And so one thing that you want to look at is maybe longing right here where we get close to that fade, and then you have your stop loss here below the wedge, and you could close at any time within that. And so you target your highs again, and you're looking at a 4+ R position. That's pretty good. I think that's really good. And so this is probably my favorite trade of this chart, of the video. So I think that's worth keeping in mind. If you also wanted to play a short, I would wait for like a breakdown here. This is a very good idea to target right here, and maybe you could target like this wick, the top of this wick, which would be a 3.6. So that's also pretty good. I think both longs and shorts, XRP has the best opportunities. And you're starting to see liquidity in this chart as well versus other coins. When Bitcoin's very stale, a lot of coins are really stale, and I think that's one reason why people think the market is worse than what it is, because the market's not doing terrible in this year. But so let's look for example. So it's we're down to about 75%. I mean, we were as high as 92 if you wanted to go up there. The highest close was 85, so we're 10% from the lows. Or from the highs rather, and so we're still doing good. 73%, 70+% for the year is pretty good. The problem is that we made most of our price impulses in one candle, pretty much. So it's hard to say. Like this has been a hard year to trade, but it hasn't been a hard year to hold. And so that kind of goes into perspective. Like, should you trade? Should you hold? Should you do both? I personally do both. So that kind of gives you a context of that. So I hope that kind of helps you for this week. That's the video. Just focus on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP today. If you like that, please like, subscribe. Please look at my Twitter. I got my Discord. I got my Telegram. I want to help you, so let me help you, and especially in Discord, because you are able to talk to me. One reason I have my Discord is so my followers have a place that they can join themselves together as a community and talk to me personally. You can talk to me. I prioritize all my conversations in there. You can give me chart requests. I have people talking to me daily, and it's been great. I got about 150 people in there. Once we get to 200, I'll do some giveaways. So anyway, I hope you have a good rest of the day. I hope you have a good rest of the week, and I look forward to possibly helping you later on. So take care. Have a great day.